So good to have you, sister. We're about to start in just a minute. Um, Amazing. Sunday, everybody. So good to have you on board. Thank you for coming on a Sunday. I'm so excited to see you all. We're just waiting for Carolina. 1 minute, and then we'll be ready to start. So guys, today we're going to focus on biohacking your skin and your sleep. So any questions at all about biohacking, about sleeping, about skin, just feel free. That's what we're here for. We would love to answer your question. I'll be monitoring the question on the screen. So really don't hesitate. Just checking that we have Carolina on board with us.
Hello, Sharon.
Hi, Carolina.
Hi.
Amazing. I'm so glad we're on board and we can start the event. Happy Sunday.
Sunday.
So thank you so much for everyone that joined. So today we're going to really keep our focus on how to hack your skin and your sleep. Carolina here has joined us from Finland and is also a biohacker. So Carolina, why don't we start off by telling us a little bit about what do you consider to be biohacking, how you started your biohacking journey?
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Carolina and I'm into biohacking. For me, it's basically looking at different ways to improve my body, mind, soul, lifestyle in general. And I'm working on a fast-paced data center project for clients like Amazon, Facebook, which means long hours, usually at work. And when I come back, I just want to make every minute count and maximize the impact. So biohacking is like the best way for me to do that.
Great. So if you see me waved, I'm just saying hello. I've seen Agmar, Beatrice, bonjour, hi. So good to have you on board. So thank you for sharing this, Carolina. And really, the reason we wanted to talk to you guys about the skin and the sleep today are because the skin is our biggest organ, and I think we sometimes tend to forget that and forget how much of a barrier it is to our internal well-being, but also how much we expose it to everything external. So in a way, it is our protection against the outside, but it's also what's being faced to the outside on a daily basis. And sleep is, something that we do, and sometimes I feel that there is a level of unconsciousness attached to sleeping, because obviously, by definition, when we're sleeping, we're not conscious per se. But it's something that really needs to be tracked to be able to hack it, because the quality of our sleep is really going to have a knock-on impact on our life, and a good sleep quality is going to have a good knock-on impact, whereas a bad sleep quality is going to have a bad impact. And there is this concept or idea that biohacking can be very expensive and is for sort of elite that is very wealthy. There is an element of toys and gadgets and tech that we're going to talk about. However, I really feel that there are so many natural biohacks, so many free biohacks that you can start to integrate and adopt today. And today we're going to really present you with a few toys and gadgets that, yes, you can buy, but we're going to also make an effort to give you some tips and tools that you can integrate today, and most of them for either free or a very limited amount of money. So Carolina, one of the things that I love about you is how you make your own serum at home for your skin. I would love it if you could share a little bit with our audience this morning how you do that.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like that exactly. It's more about the lifestyle we make, what we do when we do it, than really spending a lot of money to improve it. And when it comes to skincare, yes, I'm making my own serums, I'm making my own creams, but I wanted to share with people what to choose when you go basically to the drugstore and you are thinking, what should I buy? Especially when it comes to anti-aging, which people start when you are over 25, around 30, that you start taking care of the skin, because we start, the collagen is reducing in our body, so it's important to start taking care of it. And the first vitamin I just wanted to talk about is vitamin A, which is the best researched vitamin in the scientific literature. They already started researching it in 1970s, and there are different forms of it. But it has amazing anti-aging properties, so it will reduce the fine lines. It will also go to deep layers on the skin and really work for us anti-aging. And I think like the first type that is there is the retinoic acid, and that's usually under the tretinoin, which is prescription-based drug. So for me, because I live in Europe, it's very difficult to get, and I would need to have the prescription from the doctor, which usually they are also reluctant to give. But then there are forms that are also quite strong and will do a lot of benefits for our skin, and that will be retinol or retinoid. So basically, if I would choose a serum in the drugstore, I would always check ingredients if there is pure retinol or retinoid. And it's also important to talk about concentration, because it needs to have at least 0.25%, so we will see any effect in our skin layers. And sometimes when you buy the serum, it's gonna say, okay, retinol, amazing serum, but you don't know how much is there. So maybe it's so little, it's actually not gonna work for you. And also what they recommend is that from 0.25 to 1%, you will get the strongest ones. And I think for retinols, it's probably very popular brand. I don't know if you are using The Ordinary, that they have very simple, it's very cheap, very affordable. Yes. However, it definitely works.
Yes, and I love that you mentioned that, and that's something I wanted to share as well today with our audience, is sometimes the least amount of different ingredients there are, the better it is, because a lot of fancy brand, I'm not going to name names, but a lot of luxury brands actually put so much ingredients, and yes, there will be a little bit of retinol, vitamin A, and it will be there, but you will notice that it will be at the very end of the ingredient list. And that's also a tip that I think it's worth sharing for our audience this morning, is if you want to know the concentration of the ingredient list, see whether it comes at the beginning or towards the end. So if you see, for example, water as the first ingredient, it means that this product's composition is mainly water-based. Or if you see alcohol, that's something that really should worry you a little bit, because it's not going to be great for your skin. So you really want to see where in the ingredient list the ingredient comes up that you're looking for. If it comes at the very end, the concentration of that particular ingredient might be very, very small, and you end up paying a lot of things for the packaging, the plastic, the bottle, and the brand and the name.
100%. So information is key. It's good to be like informed customer and what's best for us. And so when it comes to retinols, I think it's very useful information that, like the fourth type I wanted to talk about are retinol esters, and this would have, for example, retinol palmitate. And this is actually very weak and very cheap form of retinol, which means it's not gonna really work for you. Sometimes they will call it as a pro-retinol, but basically when I go to the store and see retinol palmitate, probably I'm not choose that specific serum. So yes, when it comes to vitamin A, always look for retinol or retinol up to 1%. I think they can also mix it, so you can have, for example, 1% of retinol and plus 1% of retinoid. That's really very strong serum.
Yes. So also, Carolina, because I personally use retinol as well, but I've noticed that I might have done it the wrong way in the past. I just wanted to give you little tips for our audience. I'm not sure if you agree, but there is such a thing as overdoing it with retinol. I feel that if it's the first time you've done it, you can end up having a little bit of a rash or a sort of dryness. So do you want to talk to us about how to build it up in a kind of nice way so that you don't get to that situation, which happened to me. I woke up once and going into little bits and I thought, oh dear, what did I do?
This is very practical comment, because normally if you are not used to it, you can see that some irritation will occur. For me, it was also that I started getting some small pimples because it was basically too strong. So it's really good to start with some 0.2% and use it for the first few months and then slowly build it up. Some people do it that they buy a stronger product with, for example, 0.5% of retinol, and they will use it twice a week, 3 times a week. And then they slowly build up the tolerance for it. It's also important to use the sunscreens during the daytime if you use it, and it's also recommended to use retinols throughout the winter to avoid this sun exposure. So I know that some cosmeticians, they would also suggest to not use retinols through the summer at all. However, I believe if you use the small concentration, if you know how to use it, you are used to it, and you use the 50 SPF, it probably would be okay, but it's a little bit controversial to use it during summertime.
Yeah, and I really love the fact that you mentioned that, because I've actually completely stopped using SPF for about a year now. This has to do a lot with the diet that I've adopted, which is really, really highly concentrated in fat. So I find that when I use retinol, I will use it only at night, and if I know that the following day I'm gonna really sun expose myself, particularly my face, I'll probably not use it that night before. So say I know that I'm gonna spend the weekend at the beach and I'm gonna be under a prolonged sun exposition. Because I don't use SPF, I will probably not use retinol on Friday night. I will use it on Thursday night, and then I will wait for Monday, and then I'll use it on Tuesday night again.
That's excellent advice. Yes, that's exactly what I would do as well if I would use sunscreen.
Great. No, that's perfect, because I know that not everybody uses sunscreen, and there is a bit of a polarized opinion as to whether or not sunscreen is good. But definitely for the first time, even if you don't believe in sunscreen, as I don't particularly, if you're using retinol for the first time, you should definitely protect your face with SPF 50 to make sure that you don't get photosensitive.
Exactly. But yeah, as said, probably it's best to start experimenting in the winter time if it's the first time you're using, so you can avoid getting some like melanoma changes or like dark spots on your skin, because your skin is so sensitized to it.
Amazing. The other vitamin that I would love for you to talk to us about today is vitamin C, because I feel that a lot of people think of vitamin C as this powerhouse vitamin that can be taken in a supplement in the morning, but not many people know that it can be used topically and that you can apply it on your skin. So I would love for you to tell us a bit more about this magical vitamin C serum that you make at home.
Yeah, so vitamin C serum is also one of my favorites, and it has a lot of benefits. It's a powerful antioxidant. It has anti-inflammatory properties. It has really good brightening properties if you have some like sun damage spots. So it's really gonna brighten, even out your skin tone. It's also like suggested to use when you have rosacea, acne, that it also calms your skin. And just as you said, that normally we are used to it, that we take vitamin C orally, and it has loads of other benefits for our immune system and for other things. However, when we take it orally, it's probably going to be mostly used by our organs, and then very little amounts will get to our skin. And as per the research, it shows that it actually penetrates really well when it's applied topically on your skin, and it really goes into the deeper levels. And then it also is involved in the collagen production in your skin. So it's definitely justified, and it has multiple benefits to use it topically.
Great.
Yes.
And Karen, will you be able to share this little recipe serum with our audience after the event?
Yes, absolutely. I can give some links as well how I'm making it. And I can just help maybe choosing for those vitamin C serums. There are more types, but I want to mention only two, just to not give them as well. So the most popular is probably ascorbic acid, which you will find in vitamin C serums. It's soluble in water, and when it's normally as a powder, and when it's taken alone, it's actually quite stable. But once you dissolve it into the water and you make your own serum, it loses its stability. So it's very sensitive for the sunlight exposure and for the temperature as well. Which means that once it's exposed to sun or high temperature, vitamin C will lose its properties. And also for how long the serum will have activated vitamin C will be around 3 months, which means it's very short period. That's why for me, I feel it's always dangerous to buy vitamin C serum at the drugstore, because you are never sure if someone maybe opened the package, maybe vitamin C deactivated already, so it's not gonna do anything for you. And you can see it when it stays for too long on your shelf, that it changes the color to the darker one, the smell is different. So for me, I always had experience when I buy vitamin C serum that always something wrong was happening with it after like 3-4 weeks. So and that's the main ingredient that they use, that's ascorbic. But recently they found out completely new form of vitamin C, and that's very difficult name. It's called ascorbyl tetraisopalmitate, and this is soluble in oils, and that's much more expensive vitamin C form. So when you find it in serum, it's going to be very expensive, but it's also very active and very stable, which means it can stay on your shelf for like at least 1 year. And it's also not going to change its properties when it's exposed to light, so you don't need to have the dark bottles for it. And that's basically the one I'm choosing in my serums. So I guess that's for the details to keep it short.
No, it's great information. I really love that you're sharing all of this with us today, because I find that it is hard to navigate all of those, and I had to do it the hard way and going and taking the time to do the research. But it's great to hear it from you, and it's such a wonderful reminder for those that already know, and it's a great lesson to learn for everyone that hasn't heard this before. So I'm really grateful that you're sharing this with us today. It's amazing. And in my experience, I've been using retinol and vitamin C, not both at the same time. I do alternate, and it's been a skin game changer. I suffered from adult acne. I also could see some fine line, and it was really tempting to, resort to other solution. But I find that this is such a nice and natural way to really hack your skin and make it look radiant, and it feels like you've just had a facial every time. So
yes, and also I wanted to mention that with vitamin C, it really maximizes your UV protection for people who use sunscreens. So just like that, it's really good to use it during summertime. And if you have very light skin, you get burnt like myself, it's a good combination as well.
Yeah, and I love it that you mentioned that, because as I said, I don't use SPF, but I think that it's directly related to the fact that I started using vitamin C on my skin. I've noticed my skin, I'm Mediterranean and kind of olive skin, but I've noticed that with using vitamin C topically, then I didn't need to use SPF as much. Another little tip that I thought would be worth sharing is for those that are going to go through really long sun exposure. For example, if you're going on a surf and you're conscious about not using toxic components for your skin, but also for the environment, because remember that everything that you put on your skin is going to go into the ocean. I find that using zinc is a really, really great one. So you do look a little bit funny because it makes you look a little bit gray, So it's kind of a statement. But really, on a serious note, I've used it when I was gone for a few hours, maybe going fishing or maybe going out at sea. And I put zinc on my sensitive parts. I look funny, but it does the job, and it's natural.
I'm so happy you mentioned it, because that's basically the main ingredient, how you produce mineral sunscreen. So like mineral sunscreen is basically zinc oxide and titanium oxide, and those are like natural minerals, and they basically reflect UV rays and they protect you from the sun. So it's also, if I choose a sunscreen, I usually go for the mineral one, because all the physical sunscreens, they work like a sponge, so they absorb UV rays. But there is also a little bit of controversy if those chemicals can go into your bloodstream. There is no clear conclusion, but it may happen. And if that's the risk, I obviously choose the safer option. That is the mineral sunscreen based on like zinc oxide, just like you mentioned. And I also found that because of my fair skin, I need to use sunscreen. And I find mineral sunscreen really helps to clear out if you have any acne spots, because it also has those like anti-acne inflammatory properties. Whereas when I use chemical sunscreens, I break out really badly from them.
Yes, same. I really, now that I've gotten my skin used to natural product, I get an almost near instant reaction whenever I put toxic back on my skin. So I really love how much you've shared today. Can I ask you one last question before we move into more of the nutrition side of how to back your skin? So you've talked about the ingredients that you would introduce. Could you maybe tell us which ingredient you would definitely recommend to let go of? So if
Yes.
audience today is listening and they want to go into their bathroom and have a little check at the bottles and the ingredient list, could you give us the name of the ingredients not to allow in the bathroom?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, and that helps making choices when I go to the drugstore. But for different products, I'm avoiding different things. So, for example, I'm definitely avoiding sulfate. You will see SLS, also ALS, which is a little bit like for more sensitive skin, but for me, it's still too strong cleansing detergent. Sulfates you will find in shampoos, shower gels. It's basically their role is to clean your skin from dirt and any oil-based products, which they do great jobs. But for my skin that is sensitive and tends to be more dry, I don't need that strong detergent. And I think you can see especially difference with the shampoos, that once you use with sulfates, it really dries out your skin. Then it starts producing more sebum to complement for that. I don't know. I just find it really bad effect on my scalp. Then my skin gets very dried out. Then you can also start getting some of those eczema spots on your elbows because it's also dried out. I don't know if that's also the experience you had, if that's something you are trying to avoid.
100%.
Yes, so that would be the first one I'm avoiding. Then I'm also avoiding silicones. And that would be like dimethicone or also siloxanes. I don't know if it is cyclohexyl. It's also a very common one. So the main purpose is that they blur your skin, that everything glides smoothly through it. And they are mostly used, for example, in primers, in your like foundation for your face. And yes, it looks beautiful, but doesn't really do anything for your skin. And again, I found out that I break from using silicones on my face. So I would rather buy instead a BB cream with some like coconut oil and use a coconut oil to blur, and then that other products just glide through it.
I love that you mentioned that because silicone is really the enemy in the sense that I think it's one of the dangerous ones because it's a fake friend. What I mean by that is it gives you a quick fix, but it really damages long-term results. So you'll see a lot of silicone in a lot of luxury hair mask and hair conditioner because what it does is it gives you that slickness, right? So when you use a conditioner or a mask or a cream or a makeup base, as you said, that has silicone, it's almost that instant glow that, you know, it's really soft. It's because it is literally silicone. So if you think of silicone as what it is, it's what it's going to do. However, the thing that is not talked about is what it will do long term. So on your skin, silicone acts as almost a plastic wrap that's going to not let your skin breathe. So if you have any silicone in your makeup or your BB cream, your pores are more likely to get clogged. And one thing that really frustrates me is because I'm always on the lookout for the label non-comedogenic, because non-comedogenic typically means that you will not have spots. However, you find a huge amount of cosmetic, luxury cosmetic, that is filled with silicone and still gets allowed to use the label non-comedogenic, which to me is absolute nonsense because if it has silicone, by definition, it is gonna make you have spots. Maybe not that day, but in the long term.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. And I feel when I use silicones on my face, it just doesn't breathe. Well, obviously, if you go for some amazing event like wedding, you really want to look good, you know that those products make you look good. I wouldn't mind using it a few times a year, but definitely not on a daily basis.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also that's something that I wanted to share with the audience today, because it may be that when you adopt those natural hacks, you're gonna find that for the first few days your skin doesn't look as radiant or your hair is a little bit dull. And it's
Yeah.
okay. I think it's a short-term step back for a long-term adoption of an overall healthy skin and hair. And there is a lot to be said about, you know, how it looks and how it is. I find that a lot of the time people are really drawn to quick fixes and it needs to look good today, but they don't really think about the repercussion that it's going to have. And that's really, I think, sometimes that a principle that can be applied in all aspects of our health. There is no quick fix. There is no shortcut. If you're going to do it well, it's going to be a long-term adoption of rituals that are going to be not only beautiful aesthetically, but also healthy at a molecular, at a cellular, at a biological level.
Yes, but I think people more and more become aware of it, and they see once they switch
Yeah.
to very clean products, they actually like their skin more. You can tell that it starts breathing, it starts repairing, and also like for those vitamins A and C that we discussed, it takes a little time that it builds up in your skin, that it starts working. So it's years and years really of application. I also wanted to mention another thing I'm really trying to avoid, and that's like a very controversial one. And I think that's something I discovered also only recently. And those are microplastics and face creams. And basically, those are very small molecules of plastic. And I noticed those are usually used in very high products. Like, I don't want to name brands, but basically the most expensive you will find in the store, they will have, because they have very good emulsifying properties and they make really nice consistency of your cream so that it applies really nicely. But it's only again like, do I really care about it? Like, I don't. And just to give a little bit advice, what are those microplastics? When you see your face cream, it's gonna be something under the name cross polymer, acrylates, cross polymer, or carbomer. So I usually just have a quick check for the cream, then I see the carbomer, cross polymer, and I'm not gonna buy it. There's not much research done about those, but it is basically plastic. So once you wash your face, it will just gonna go down the drain. And then you probably need to use also stronger products to remove it from your skin.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that, because I find that there is this built-in block of toxicity, right? So you're going
Yeah.
to use such toxic cream or such toxic makeup that then you're going to have to use an even more toxic makeup
Yeah.
remover to get rid of all those
Yeah.
toxins. And I find that, I'm sure as you do, using mineral makeup or very natural based, very light makeup, I find that my makeup remover routine is as simple as using hazelnut oil or argan oil, something very simple, and within a few strokes of my skin, it's all gone because there isn't that buildup.
Yeah.
So I really love that you mentioned that. It's a great
It,
tip.
I also love using oils. I think coconut oil is really nice for removing makeup. And, yes, I just wanted to mention about those microplastics that there is a small controversy about them. It's not researched well, but some people say it may block active substances to get deeper into your.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I'm the most afraid of. If I use a cream with this like cross polymer and then I use my like vitamin C or retinol, that's gonna block absorption of those products. But it's a big may. As I said, it's not researched, but it is slightly controversial. And if it is, I'm just not gonna use it. It's
No,
just
I
a.
think it's good to be aware of it, definitely, and I think awareness needs to be raised. So I'm glad you've mentioned that. So I'm really grateful for all the tips that you've shared. I wanted to touch upon a little bit on the nutritional aspect of the skin, because the skin is a direct reflection of not only what you put on it, but also what you take internally. It would be really hard to hack your skin if you don't go through the process of hacking your nutrition. So just I thought I will share a few tips on how to biohack your skin with your nutrition today. And for me, one of the first one, if we think about the skin composition, we need to go in a sort of like for like, meaning if you want to have better skin, radiant, collagen, elastic skin, you need to go like for like, meaning you need to integrate collagen into your diet. So I'll give you some tips on how to do it in your kitchen, but also how to do it orally if you don't have the time, or you're a bit of a nomad, or if you don't think that making those recipes is really convenient. The first one that I love, and I do it about 3 times a week. That's mainly because I'm a carnivore-based diet, so I do eat a lot of meat, and there is a lot of bones left over. So I throw them all in a pan. I've been called the bone collector by my friend. I'm not sure it's a good thing. I thought it was a bit of a thriller movie type of name. I thought it was a bit cringeworthy. But okay, fine. So I'll just say it's animal bone collector. But so I will really not waste anything that I've eaten. So if I've had a T-bone from a beef piece, or if I've had chicken, and I'll use the whole carcass, I will collect all those bones, and then I'll put them in a pressure cooker, and I'll cook them anywhere between 1 to 4 hours. It can be up to 12 hours if you don't have a pressure cooker. And it's really simple. You just throw the bones. It's about 1 kilo of bones for 1 liter of water. Just make sure that the quality of the water you use is really high quality, and let it simmer, let it boil together. And then once it's done, it has a very natural flavor. You can add some salt, you can add a little bit of herbs and spices if you want, but I like mine to be quite natural. And that's what's called a bone broth. You can do it with fish bones as well. And it really is filled with collagen, and it's one of the greatest hack, I think, for skin. And our ancestors used to do it. And if you go into other countries, like in Asia, I recently spent 6 months in Bali, they still do chicken feet soup. And if you go to Asia, they also do pig ear soup, and all of those really do not sound great in Europe or in Western country. I know a lot of people jump a little bit when they hear feet soup. But I think if you go and just try it and see the result for yourself, you'll adopt it.
So happy you mentioned it, because I'm like a big fan of bone broth, and it's always like so disgusting for people when I mention it. But it's also like my grandmother's recipe, and in my family, everyone is eating it at least once a week. It's like a Sunday soup, and I really like adding curcuma to it. That it's this yellow tint, and it also has amazing like anti-inflammatory properties. So no, I absolutely 100% agree, and yeah, I can relate.
I love that you say that. And also, just for everybody listening, we'll share all those recipes as a follow-up to this event. And on my blog, you can also find my grandma's recipe for bone broth. And it's really something to get used to. And just also, if you stop for a minute and want to become a bit more of a conscious individual, it is an amazing way to not waste anything from having been fed on that animal. You know, using the bones is a really good way to also respect that, because it's a no waste process. You use everything. And I think that's great. But for anyone that's not ready to take that step, which is fine, they're also amazing supplements. So I'll pop a link down for some collagen and supplement company that I really trust. Most of them are completely flavorless. You put a scoop of collagen in your coffee. And I'm not sure whether you do that as well, Carolina, but I love having a bulletproof coffee in the morning sometimes with just grass-fed butter and dark coffee. And sometimes if I want a little bit of extra protein, I'll add a scoop of collagen.
Well, that's really good to hear. I just wanted to add on to your information about collagen, because I've been reading recently researches about collagen. It's not that much available, but all the studies they did had improvement on the skin. They were taking once a day 10 grams, which is quite a big dose for the collagen, because when you go to supermarket and you see collagen supplements, they will have like 200 milligrams per tablet, very, very low. So it's just maybe for people to know that it is a dose that makes a difference, around 10 grams a day, which is quite a lot.
It is, and I really concur, and I agree completely with what you've said, because you have to be careful with the supplements that are going to be given in pill form, in the sense that I do take supplement in pill form, but it depends which supplement you're talking about. Collagen is quite big in itself, so the supplements that I take in the morning with my morning coffee represent quite a fair amount. The scoop is about that wide, and it's a lot. So if you think about how much space that would take in a capsule to have the right amount, it will be quite a challenge. So I would say with collagen, if you see supplements that come in a pill, I'll be a little bit suspicious that it doesn't have enough of it. Yeah. And you also have to think about the bioavailability, how you're going to absorb it. And that's also a great thing to think of and to be reminded of, is that taking capsule is good, but taking it in the form of a broth, or taking it in the liquid form or in a powder form and drinking it, is going to be a lot more bioavailable.
Yes, it's also like I made a post about collagen on my Instagram, and I also found that marine collagen has the best bioavailability, and also has the highest concentration of the type 1 collagen, which is the type for our skin. So yeah, it is a lot into it. It probably take us like ages to discuss it all through. But
I love the collagen. It's one of my favorites. Yes, marine collagen is also a great option to talk about for pescatarian, or for anyone that isn't comfortable with eating cows, or would rather keep it within the fish realm. So that's a great option to think of. And also something I wanted to mention, if you do take bovine collagen, or collagen that comes from beef, it's really important to make sure that the animal from which the collagen comes from a pasture-raised farm, or a place where the animal has been grass-fed. Because if the animal hasn't been grass-fed and it's been grain-fed, then of course the body composition of the animal would have been altered, and then as a result what you ingest is also not as high of the quality. So if you think for a minute of the difference between the different type of omega-3 and omega-3 and omega-6, which is something that I think is really important when looking into fat consumption to help your skin, because good fat will help your skin look really radiant. But I think you can get into the trap of consuming more fat, but more bad fat. So I just wanted to make a very quick note on fat distinction today, because it's really important. If you eat a lot of canola oil, soybeans oil, industrial oil that have a very long shelf life and go liquid when they're in warm temperature, that means they are polyunsaturated, and those oils are not going to help you have a radiant skin, because they're not really good for you at all. However, if you go for saturated oil or saturated fat, such as grass-fed butter, or if you go for oils such as coconut oil or olive oil, they are liquid, but they're not industrial oil, they're cold pressed and they're natural oil, then it will be very, very good for your skin. And you also have to make sure that within this category of healthy oil or healthy fat or healthy butter, there is a good ratio of omega-3 to omega-6. And I think that's sometimes something we don't think about enough. When we think about fat, we don't think about the type of fats that we're taking.
I think it's so interesting what you're saying, and so important. I would just like make a small addition, especially what you said about the collagen and bones. It's so important to buy organic bones that they're antibiotic free, because imagine that whatever you cook out, that's what you're gonna ingest yourself. So you don't want to have broth full of antibiotics. But yeah, it's really important. Same with the fat. I 100% agree.
And you know, I think it's an important subject to talk about, because there is such a thing as bad meat. There is definitely bad meat that I wouldn't go anywhere near. And I feel that sometimes you need to really distinguish, you know, the quality of the meat you buy to make sure that your body is going to respond in an optimal manner.
Couldn't agree more. I think that we are almost running out of time. I
know.
wanted that
So,
you share with us the cold showers and cold baths that you are doing, because this is something that has amazing properties for skin. I'm trying to get into it, but it's still really hard for me to break this barrier and do like a long cold bath. So I would love if you would share it with us.
yes, of course. So I think cold therapy is a really, really nice biohack for your skin, in the sense that it will really make you feel more radiant. It almost feels like you've had a facial after you had a cold exposure. So something that I would say is to have a building practice. So every time you have a shower on a daily basis, instead of finishing off with warm water, try to turn the tap on to cold and build it up. So the first day you're going to do 15-second really cold, not just lukewarm or cold-ish. I mean cold, ice cold. Sometimes see people putting ice bag on top of their shower so that it will flow down really cold. And perhaps the first day you're going to jump out after 10 seconds, and that's fine. Just allow yourself to feel what you feel, and just know that you're going to build it up. So the next time you do 20 seconds, then you do 30 seconds. And then you want to aim towards 1 minute to 3 minutes of cold shower, cold exposure. If you really don't want to do that, or you're not ready to jump into an ice bath, you can go to a cryotherapy chamber, and you can pay for a 15 to 45-minute session where you'll be exposed to cold temperature. But I personally find that the mindset is really important as well, and it's a ritual, you know, finishing off your shower with cold water, and also when you do a shampoo and a hair mask, finishing it off with really, really cold water is gonna help make your hair shine and your skin will be toned. There are many days when I don't use chemical toners or anything that is called a toner, and my toner is cold water. That's how I tone my skin. I will use a little bit of rose petals that I've infused in cold water, and I will put it on my face after I've showered, and that's my toner, and that works brilliantly.
I love floral toners as well. And I mean, like with the cold shower, I'm trying to build it up. I usually start with warm and I finish with cold. And I notice, because my skin is quite dry, I notice if I finish with cold shower, I don't have dryness to my skin anymore. I don't need to use like body balms. So that's one difference I noticed. But I'm also trying now, because I heard with this whole Wim Hof therapy that to then start with cold shower as a next step, but I just can't do that. I don't know if you have some tips, and if that's something that you are practicing as well, to build up, just to start with the cold one.
Yeah, I love the Wim Hof method, and I think my greatest tip to share is the breath. The breath is the support for any cold exposure practice. You really, really have to adopt a serious breath work. So what I would say is to download any of the Wim Hof app, and to really get used to doing the breath work even before any cold exposure, and then you build it up. You do the breath work every morning or every night, and once you've done that for a few weeks, you would have built up the sort of muscle memory of the breath work, so to speak, and you'll be better equipped to go into the ice bath.
Amazing. So that's what you suggest, that to first do the breath work and then try to do the cold shower or the cold
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the breath and the mind are the backbone of any cold exposure, because the only thing that's going to make you go out of the ice is your mind. And your body can survive. You're not going to go into a hypothermia unless you stay in over 20 minutes, you know. Your body can definitely survive a few minutes in the ice. It's made for it. It's okay. It's survived that kind of things. But it's your mind that's going to make you jump out. So it's the mind that needs to be trained, and the breath is going to support the mind, because when you adopt a breath that is slower or that is more regulated, you tap into your parasympathetic nervous system, and therefore you feel instantly calmer. So it's really important to control your breath, to be able to control your mind.
it's also a big confidence boost, because every time I manage to get the cold shower, like it gives you a lot of energy, but it gives you a lot of confidence. Once you go for
Yes.
something that is so unpleasant, then you feel amazing afterwards. And yeah, I think it's also a confidence booster in a way.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we could have another 2 hours just talking about skin. I'm conscious that we promised everybody we're going to talk about skin and sleep. So how about we use the next 5 minutes to really wrap it up around the skin and move into sleep.
Yeah.
The last tip I really wanted to share before we move on to sleeping, for anyone listening and that hasn't tried before, if you have an opportunity to try red light therapy or infrared sauna. I know in Finland you have a massive sauna culture, but I personally find red light therapy is amazing to help boost that skin radiance. It will boost your mitochondria, which is directly responsible for this energy, and it's really something that I would recommend trying if you have an opportunity. So I just wanted to share that as a little biohack tip. And also, we cannot not talk about sauna when we have someone from Finland with us.
Yes.
Right, so if we're talking about red lights, we're gonna just transition into sleep very briefly. And before I give you time to talk about your top hacks for sleep, I just wanted to mention one of my favorite hacks for sleep are red glasses. I know they make us look like absolute geeks, but they are a game changer when it comes to sleeping better and increasing your sleep quality. I use them every time I have any kind of artificial blue stimulation at night, meaning I'm using any kind of screen. So whether you're watching TV, whether you're on your phone, a tablet, anything that is artificial blue light, I would strongly suggest using red glasses that have blue blocking properties, so that your hormones are not tricked. Because when you're artificially stimulated by blue lights, the melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, is not going to get activated in an optimal way. So you really have to think about hacking your hormones if you want to hack your sleep. And your sleep hormone is melatonin. So I think that's something that we really need to become more aware of in a world that is so filled with digital stimulation.
Yeah, so that's a big one. And I remember the first time I used blue light blocking glasses, and I was so sleepy after 1 hour of using them. Now I don't see any difference, but the first time it was quite an experience for me. Yes, and I also want to share like few tips for sleeping. I'm gonna keep it extremely short. So I basically use the Aura Ring to track everything. And I'm gonna share the things that helped me most improve my sleep, and I saw a significant results in my deep sleep and REM sleep on my Aura Ring results. So I would say yes, the blue light blocking is one. Also, I'm not eating 3 hours before going to sleep. I have my last meal, and that's also important, just to not spike your insulin levels, not to snack just before going to sleep, because that's gonna block hormones that relate to melatonin secretion as well. Then I also exercise 4 hours before going to sleep. If I exercise very late, I see that my resting heart rate is quite high and it just doesn't go down. And then my sleep quality is very low. Another one I have is with the coffee, that normally when you wake up, you start building up adenosine levels in your brain. And the more you build up, it's like a signal for your brain you're sleepy. But when you drink coffee, it blocks those signals. So even if you drink coffee in the morning, still after around 6 to 8 hours, you have half of the caffeine concentration in your body. So I'm just trying to avoid afternoon, evening coffees or black teas that also have caffeine. So I would just drink chamomile tea or like very calming before the night.
Yes. I love that you mentioned that, because the topic of nootropics is really big within the biohacking community, and I'm a big fan of nootropics. And of course, coffee containing caffeine is a form of nootropic. But I feel that what is not talked about enough is when to take those, because as much as I am a coffee fan, I really, really make every possible effort to take them within a very short window period after the time upon which I wake up. And then I will just make a hard stop, and I will not have coffee in the afternoon, and most definitely not in the evening. And if you're using any other kind of nootropics, it's really important not to take those in the afternoon, because otherwise they could mess up your circadian rhythm, which are your rhythm that will be linked with the nature. So we are meant historically, or on an evolution-based science, to raise with the sun and to go to bed with the moon or with darkness. And of course, in a world that is so digitally stimulated, we completely lost track of that, and we became digital night owl. And I'm often guilty of that, but there are so many things that you can do to minimize the impact of messing with your circadian rhythm. And I love that you mentioned the Aura ring, and I think it's really important to track your HRV, and it's really hard to hack anything that you don't track. And I think that's a really big point that I want to give away to our audience today. Whatever you want to hack, you have to track.
Track it. That I agree with as well. I think also like the biggest shock for me was the influence of alcohol on my sleep. Some people would say, like some of my friends, oh, when I can't fall asleep, I'm gonna have 3 years and then I sleep like a baby. That's exactly not true as well. So for me, even after like 2 glasses of wine, I already see disruption in my quality. So my REM will be a little bit lower, my deep sleep will be lower, and again, heart will be also and it's not gonna like go down that fast. I think it's important to socialize. It's good to see your friends, your family, go for a party. It's a very important part of our life. But I sit at home alone and drink alone wine just to disrupt my sleep for the night. You know what I mean?
I love that you mentioned that, and I'm French, so red wine is a big thing. I'm not going to deny the fact that I do like one glass of wine every now and again, but I have become more and more aware of when I will have it, if I have it, and how much of it I have if I'm having it. And I'm also aware of the fact that it has a detrimental knock-on effect on my sleep, and it's really important to space it out as much as you can. And to really almost have a journal and feel the difference, and be really honest with the quality of your sleep. Have this food and drinks journal and sleep journal, and have a list on the right hand side of what you took, what you ate, what you drank, how you felt, how was the quality of your thought. And then on the left hand side, sorry if I'm doing a mirror effect, I do it on my left, but I think it might be so on the opposite side, let's say, you're going to have a sleep journal, and you're going to be really honest about the quality of the night that you've had, and really interrogate yourself as to the cause and effect. What it is that I've eaten, or what it is that I've drank that day, and how did I sleep? And can you see any correlation? And if you see recurring patterns, and you notice that on a night where, maybe it was a Saturday night and you had an extra drink with your friend, we're not putting a judgment call on whether or not it's bad or good. What we're saying is, can you be honest with yourself and see how it affected the quality of your sleep, therefore the quality of your life?
It's extremely important. And once you start writing it down, it doesn't cost anything, but you see the patterns and you can better analyze yourself. And you need to do it for self-experiment, because we are all different, we react differently, and that's the best way to hack your health for that.
Absolutely. And I will say that there is one supplement that I do really like taking to hack my sleep as part of my biohacking routine. It is magnesium. It is really good to have 1 to 2 capsules of magnesium a few hours before sleep at night. A nice natural way to have a deeper, healthier, longer sleep, and it's really, really helped me. So I'll also pop some links to some great magnesium supplement that I recommend.
Amazing. I'm also supplementing with magnesium, and I'm always trying to go for the magnesium citrate that we get like 80% of it. But it again depends, because if you have some stomach problems after, then you can go for other forms that are
the best thing that we can do is give a different type of magnesium and what they prefer. We can recommend different type of magnesium, definitely. Right. It's been such an honor to
it's
have you doing this with me, Carolina. I'm so happy. I'm sad to see it go. The timing is gone so quickly. But I'm really happy to see you in Finland at the Biohacking Summit. Will be really, really good to be there and to see you there and to come to your homeland.
I'm so excited about it, and I'm the most excited that you will be a speaker on the biohacking event in Finland, which is amazing. And I'm really looking forward to see you here, and I hope we will go and test the best saunas in Finland and do some cold dips, because that's probably gonna be about the time to do that.
And we'll hack our skin together and take lots of selfies and share them on Instagram.
We also invite everyone else who has some free weekend, and it's
Yes.
15th of October, as I recall. Yeah.
Yes, anyone that wants to join us in Finland, DM us, send us an email. We would love to see you there. We can send you all the information about the summit and we can go for sauna together.
Yes.
Right. I wish you all a beautiful Sunday. Carolina, thanks again ever so much for all your beautiful tips and your incredible presence today. It's been an absolute delight, and I can't wait to see you in Finland.
Thank you so much. Amazing talking with you. Have a lovely weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.